Welcome back to the David Kurten Show here on today's News Talk TNT. Now, I have a very special guest with me today. I'm honored to have with me Hermann Kelly of the Irish Freedom Party, the leader of the Irish Freedom Party. Welcome to the show, Hermann.
Great to see you again, David. Very pleased.
It's really great to have you on the show. Now, I've known you for a long time, I have to confess, from back in the day, Brexit days and all those kind of things. But now you've moved on and you are the leader of what I would say is the best and most common sense party in Ireland. But we look at Ireland from across the Irish Sea here. I'm in the UK, and I just think, what on earth is happening with the parties that are in power? They're ruining the nation. I mean, what is happening there with these two parties you've got in the Dáil there in Dublin?
Well, it's funny because historically the Romans never invaded Ireland because they looked across from Scotland and they said it looked very cold and they called it Hibernia and they never visited. They never invaded. So maybe it's it's going crazy. Do you know what? Ireland has gone from the most conservative Catholic country in the world to probably the most extreme, woke and authoritarian country. I think it's in a race with Canada to see which can be the most PC, the most state authoritarian, the political bully boy. There has come about in Ireland what we call the Uni Party, which is the amalgamation between the political class, media class, and a huge so-called non-governmental organizations, which take up would you believe, there's a huge slush fund from the government of 8% of the complete Irish budget goes to employ middle-class, left-wing, sociology-educated graduates in South Dublin. It employs over 1/3 people, take up 8% of their budget. It's an alternative form. It's a slush fund for political funding. Directly from the taxpayer, and basically it's the most woke, most extreme, and I am extremely pleased they say today the most out of touch probably in Europe, because they just got hammered. The government held two referenda and it got absolutely trounced. In one referenda, it was beat by 3/4 of the country voted no, and the other 2/3 of the country voted no. There was only one constituency in the country where, in one referenda, it won by 0.5%. So we absolutely trounced them, and it was only two parties were against this whole these referenda.
We've seen that over in the headlines. I mean, that was a really fantastic result. I think they tried to change the constitution, didn't they, to write out traditional values and the traditional definition of family, and even to write out the definition of mothers and women. I mean, this is something that you've had since the beginning of the Irish Republic.
You know what? I made the referendum about they wanted to erase the words woman and mother from the Irish Constitution. And they also wanted to, I call it, while the government wanted to call it the family and care referenda, of course, as you know, I'm as a press officer for a long time, the requirement to name, claim, and tame language is very important. So from day one, I called it the erase and replace. They wanted to erase women and mothers from the Constitution, and they wanted to replace Irish families. This is the second referenda with a definition of family based on marriage, with other durable relationships, plural. And when we asked, what does other durable relationships mean? Oh no, we can't define it. We'll leave that for the Supreme Court to define. So they're asking you to sign up to a pig in a poke. They won't tell you what it is. And when we asked, does that mean thruples? Does that mean polyamorous groups? Does that mean like man and his dog? Or like where could this end? And they said, no, we won't define it. Just as I suppose the way when you ask them, can you define what a woman is? They can't do that either. So it was a way of getting rid of a biology based on natural law, on biology, about mommy, daddy, baby. Do you know that kind of that normal type of stuff? and
Yes.
introducing this transgenderism, gender ideology, this, let's call it what it is, wacko and weirdo stuff into the center of our constitution. And thank God, after great campaigning and clear messaging from the Irish Freedom Party and other groups in Ireland, the Irish people, I believe the phrase is, sent them home to think again.
Mm. It's such a fantastic result, and you've done a great job in like galvanizing people against it and against all of the money and all of the media influence and all of these NGOs you talk about. I mean, that is a shocking figure. You said that a third of a million people work for these NGOs, and it's like a closed circle, isn't it? The government funds them, and the NGOs then lobby the government to do what the government wants anyway, and they cut out the majority of people. It's a horrendous, almost totalitarian system, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we saw during the lockdown, actually,
Mm.
and in some respects, the COVID lockdown in Ireland was fantastic, let's say, period, because it showed the Irish people clearly, beyond any doubt, that the media class, the so-called those who are supposed to hold the powerful to account, to question them hard, and like they were just propaganda merchants. They
Mm.
acted as propaganda merchants for the government and for the political class. And you know what? So all trust in the so-called mainstream media in Ireland has collapsed
Mm.
because they just lied to their teeth. They they showed that they were just working as propaganda merchants for the government, and in a way, it serves them right. It serves them right. I used to be a journalist. I started off 20 years ago as a journalist in Ireland. I was even then like a fish out of water because I was socially conservative, because I believe in national sovereignty. Just like the vast majority of country, like people around majority of countries in the world, I
Mm.
believe in stuff like mommy and daddy and having sex, having babies. That Irish people, the idea that Irish people are good enough to make their own laws, decide their own budgets, and control their own borders. Basics, only the very basic, nothing new or fandangled, just normal stuff.
Mm.
We were just looking to be a normal country like we have around the world outside the European Union. But would you believe that the Catholic Church has been substituted in Ireland by the EU and Brussels instead of Rome rule and about the influence of the Catholic or Christian Church in Ireland? It is now all about Brussels control and rule from Brussels. And you cannot question, you can't even say in public how much that we're a net contributor for 10 years. You cannot say that in 2002 our net contribution was 1.1 billion euro to the EU budget. The national broadcaster, well, which we can call the state broadcaster, who just received a huge bung of 58 million to keep it going. Of course, they're not going to bite the hand that feeds it, and they're just completely subservient to the European Union.
Yeah, we are. Well, we've had Brexit in the UK. I mean, I would say it's not a proper Brexit. We got
Yeah,
something, but we are still, in a way, beholden to the EU in so many ways. We didn't get out of the common fisheries policy properly. The EU still controls 70% or 75% of our fishing catch. We're still dedicated to a level playing field on climate and social policy and these kind of things. We need to come out of that completely. But
yeah.
I mean, with you in Ireland, do you think that Ireland would actually be better off if it was outside the EU and sovereign over your own land and your
Much,
own
much
waters?
better off. Our attitude is that Ireland, we cannot afford the European Union anymore. It costs us
Mm.
a fortune every year, and for the over 1 billion euro that we pay every year, that they dictate, they make up the laws that run in Ireland, impose these laws often against their will, against our interests. Uh, would you believe in 2013, the Irish budget was seen and approved in the committees of the German Bundestag before it was seen in Ireland?
Wow.
These people, the EU, along with the IMF and Troika, they imposed 64 billion bank debt on the Irish taxpayer. at the same time, 2011. That was 42% of all bank debt in private bank debt in Europe. They imposed it on Ireland, which is Irish taxpayers, 1% of the EU population. So we can't believe we can't afford it anymore. We don't believe that paying old men we don't elect to make laws we don't need is a good deal. If anybody asked the people of Ireland now, if they give a description of the EU, what it meant, nobody would join that now. Absolutely nobody. And also where our trade policy is made in Brussels, agricultural policy, and they're imposing taxes on ordinary people. Like that's a clear example is carbon tax, which makes our milk and meat more expensive, makes it more expensive for people to buy petrol to drive to work, for old people to buy heating oil to heat their home. Farmers in Ireland believe that because of the cap budget, that they received a lot of money from the EU for years. But now the EU has changed its attitude towards farming, towards rural life, towards farmers. And now farmers in rural Ireland are in the crosshairs of the EU. The EU wants to destroy rural Ireland, turn it into like a glorified theme park for urban visitors during the weekend. And farmers will very quickly find that the EU is not your friend. The EU is on your case and it's out to get you and it wants to deprive you of your livelihood, freedom to farm as you wish.
Well, you see farmers are waking up all over the European continent, from the Netherlands and Belgium to Wales, England, Poland. And I think what they're proposing for Ireland is appalling. I heard that they want to cull 200,000 cattle, dairy cattle, and just for absolutely no good reason apart from
seemingly
this is something to do with climate.
Yeah, climate change. And cow, if I'm allowed to say it, cow flatulence is going to destroy us all. Like the whole thing, for me, carbon dioxide, I was taught in science class. I believe you taught science as well, David.
Yeah.
We both taught science, actually. But carbon dioxide is a gas. It exists 421 parts per million in the atmosphere. All of the man-made section of that, it's only 3%. And CO2 is a very simple chemical, is gas. It is necessary for photosynthesis.
Yeah.
See, NASA has shown that over the last 50 years, increasing carbon dioxide levels, which are coming from a historically very, very low level, have actually greened the planet over the last 50 years, which is a good thing. So the idea that carbon dioxide is man-made carbon dioxide is going to destroy us all, and it's going to roast us all, and we're all going to burn alive because of CO2. It's just stupidity. It's ain't true. And you know what? We have to fight against it. On principle, we accept global climate change. The climate has always changed, will always change. But we believe the main driver is proximity to the sun. And Malkovich cycles, as they call it, about how it rotates around the sun and sunspots, etc. But certainly not carbon dioxide, which is good and necessary gas for photosynthesis. Plant food, as we used to call it in science class.
Absolutely. It's so good to hear a leader of another political party say that, understands the science, understands carbon dioxide is not a harmful gas. It is useful and good for plants. And that the sun is the main driver of whatever climate change there is. And we need to abandon this nonsense of the idea there's a climate emergency, because what that's doing is it's destroying transport, is private vehicles. They want to get rid of private vehicles. Then they've also now got agriculture and farmers in their target hairs, which is the disaster, because we won't have enough food to eat. And you wonder if that is to do with some kind of, depopulation agenda. They want to create scarcity on purpose in order to make life harder, so that we're all controlled by, whatever governments are in power. But look, there's something else. There's another big issue in Ireland I want to ask you about, but while we got time, and that is immigration. Because I'm looking over at Ireland and I see, well, you didn't have a problem with mass immigration till about 5 years ago or so. Ireland was a very homogenous society. You had Irish people in Ireland, and you could go and visit
you came
anywhere,
to
even
Ireland.
Dublin. Now it's changed.
Yeah, it's changed beyond recognition. In the last 30 years, since 1995, the population of Ireland has increased by 42%. Yes, I said 42%, 1.5 million people. And the acceleration in the increase in population has exploded in the last 5 years. Now, official figures tell us that 1 in 5 people are non-national. But if you walk around the towns and the cities of Ireland, you will say it's much higher than 1 in 5 are non-Irish nationals. Because we all know, would you believe, and the problem, I would say, is not those seeking asylum and international protection applicants. No, it's completely legal. EU open borders and free movement, which allow anybody and everybody to waltz into Ireland. And the state, what does the Irish state do? It offers people, we don't know their name, we don't know where they're from, we don't know, do they have a criminal record? The Irish state is offering these people free houses, virtually on arrival, along with welfare and free medical care. And at the same time, Irish people have to be means tested for everything. Even if Irish people, and there's 13,000 homeless Irish people, at the minute, they have to show by means tests that they have a right to a medical card, a right to housing, social housing, etc. Our attitude is that Irish people should be housed first. The duty of the Irish state is for the protection and security of Irish people, and it's not our duty to house the world, and it's certainly not. It was really unwise and stupid of the Irish government to send out "Come all ye's" in 7 different languages to people to young, fit men in countries like Albania and Georgia, which are predominantly the asylum seekers, that to come to Ireland to get free housing, free welfare. It's absolutely madness. And there's been, for example, 2022, there was 12 women were murdered in Ireland. 5 of those were murdered by non-Irish nationals. We are the same as the rest of Europe. When you look at Germany, when you look at Sweden, for example, an increase in immigration of unvetted males coming into the country leads to an increase in crime. It also has huge financial costs for Ireland, and also has it shows how much we've lost in the sovereignty of our country. But the Irish Freedom Party, and you can check us at irishfreedom.ie, we are moving against it.
Absolutely. You have the best policies and you've got common sense in every area. I mean, I look at what you are standing for. It's very, very similar to what we're standing for in the Heritage Party here in the UK. So, you're right on immigration, you're right on climate, on energy, you're against wokery, you're for family values and national sovereignty. You've got absolutely everything right. So I really hope that you will get success in the next elections. Anyway, Hermann, thank you so much for joining me here today on the David Kurten Show. Good to see you. This is today's News Talk, TNT.